I don't think I will ever forget Christmas 1983. I'd been away at Bible college in BC, my first time away from home, for the previous 4 months, and I couldn't wait to be home for Christmas, and I knew what to expect. Mom would have fresh Christmas baking favorites in repurposed margarine containers on the counter. Mom and Dad's signature scrawny, short-needled Christmas tree from the lot down the street would be set up in the corner of the living room, adorned with many ornaments and strings of lights that dated back to the mid-1960s. The little 12-inch black and white TV, with its 3 channels, one of them being French, would be on playing reruns of Charlie Brown's Christmas or the classic Christmas Carol, and the warm, calming, nostalgic emotions that come with being home at Christmas would flood my heart and settle my soul. Only they didn't. There was tension in the house. Mom and Dad were having problems, and I was experiencing my own Christmas crisis. I'll never forget, and I can point to the house on Cavendish Street in Regina and the very room in that house where I sat and journaled out what I was experiencing. In that moment, I wanted to be anywhere but home for Christmas. It seemed everything had changed in 4 short months. The Christmas tree looked sad, the obligatory gifts under the tree looked unenticing, and Mom and Dad were trying to spark the Christmas magic for our family, but it felt forced and contrived. Worst of all, I felt absolutely none of the Christmas wonder and enchantment I had known as a kid, and it was kind of freaking me out. I guess it was Christmas 1983 when I first began to realize that Christmas as an experience has been invented, not discovered, and that there's always been tension swirling around the concept of Christmas. As far as anyone can tell, Christmas as a celebration really didn't happen until about 400 years after the birth of Christ. In fact, the early church fathers had forbidden any celebration being connected to the coming of Christ. Historians tell us that through the Middle Ages and into the late 1600s, Christmas had become something of a trick-or-treat on steroids. It was a time of rowdiness and carousing, an unruly carnival season fueled by alcohol and often involving people going from door to door, banging on the doors, threatening people to give them food or alcohol or they'd break the door down. In fact, I found this fascinating Christmas carol written by William Mcgonagall back in 1830s. And imagine singing this as some of the lines. It begins with, "Welcome, sweet Christmas, blessed to be the morn that Christ our Savior was born." It goes on to tell of Christ's birth and calls for a ringing of bells. And then this is the 3rd stanza. Imagine singing this as a Christmas carol. "The way to respect Christmas time is not by drinking whiskey or wine, but to sing praises to God on Christmas morn, the time that Jesus Christ the Savior was born." 2 stanzas later, again, "Therefore, good people, be warned in time, and on Christmas morn don't get drunk with wine." Talk about a Christmas carol on a mission. So, because of the repulsive event that Christmas had become, many of the Puritan church leaders in the U.S. actually banned Christmas celebrations. In the early 1800s, it was the English writer and social critic Charles Dickens who saw a need for social reform. His interest in writing the fictional tale of Ebenezer Scrooge wasn't to revive celebration of Christ or get back to the true meaning of Christmas, but to turn society from its toxic, self-centered ignorance and greed to be more charitable, considerate, and generous to others. And his vehicle for such a social change would be a little book called A Christmas Carol. It turns out Dickens touched a nerve and sparked a Christmas revival of family traditions, decorations, generosity, and goodwill. But soon, the celebration of Christ's birth had new competition and tension. The mythical man with a big beard and red suit being pitched by marketing agents as the champion of all that is love, generosity, and goodwill, with your company logo beside him. American poet Emily Dickinson recalls that as a child in the 1830s, she secretly loved Santa Claus more than the Lord Jesus Christ. And in many ways, Christmas has been a tug-of-war between manger and sleigh, gold, frankincense, and myrrh versus Gucci, Fitbits, and Microsoft, the sacred and the stressful colliding in an emotionally charged, expectation-riddled cacophony of celebration, with the idea of home often forming the epicenter of all this emotion, expectation, and festivity. So for the next 3 weekends, we're going to go on an expedition to discover the meaning of home. Since home seems particularly important this time of year, we're going to study the theology of home and work to unravel the mystery of why the idea of home is so powerful. Now, anytime we can connect actionables to our teaching, I get really excited. And this short 3-week series comes packed with 3 actionables. One is going to have a focus on Riverwood House, our 40-suite transitional housing initiative that is set for completion and its grand opening in the new year. Our second is going to focus on the 2 days of Christmas Eve celebrations we're getting ready for right now. And the third will focus on you and that place you call home this year, and how you can make that place just a little more meaningful and what it was intended to be. However, for us to begin to understand the power and significance of home, we need to come to the realization that home and Christmas itself isn't about a day in December or even an entire month-long focus. Christmas and the dynamics of home aren't seasonal. I love what the Bishop of Hippo, the philosopher and theologian named Augustine, said in the late 4th century AD. In the house of God, there is never-ending festival. The angel choir makes eternal holiday. The presence of God's face gives joy that never fails. In our homes, Christmas is reserved for special celebrations on a climactic day or two each year. But Augustine says in God's home, it's Christmas every day. The festival that celebrates God is never ending. The angel choir makes eternal holiday. The specialness and wonder that ignited the whole thing long before the drunken street parties and Charles Dickens and the invention of Santa and Christmas as we know it is the state in which God lives every day. So, over the next 3 weekends, you're going to hear the Christmas story like you've never heard it before. But I would suggest what you're about to hear is the real Christmas story. So we're going to open our Bibles to the story, but don't expect to hear about a manger or shepherds, magi from the east, an exceptionally bright star, or even a bloodthirsty king. For many people, that's the only Christmas story in the Bible they know, but there are actually so many more. This one is told by Jesus himself and starts in Luke chapter 15, verse 11. Then Jesus said, there was once a man who had 2 sons. The younger said to his father, Father, I want right now what's coming to me. So the father divided the property between them. It wasn't long before the younger son packed his bags and left for a distant country. There, undisciplined and self-indulgent, he wasted everything he had. After he had gone through all of his money, there was a bad famine all through that country, and he began to feel it. He signed on with a citizen there who assigned him his field to slop the pigs. He was so hungry, he could have eaten the corn cobs in the pig slop, but no one would give him any. That brought him to his senses. He said, all those farmhands working for my father, sitting down to 3 meals a day, and here I am starving to death. I'm going back to my father. I'll say to him, Father, I've sinned against God. I've sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son. Take me on as a hired hand. He got right up and went home to his father. When he was still a long ways away, his father saw him. His heart pounding, he ran out, embraced him, and kissed him. The son started his speech, Father, I've sinned against God. I've sinned before you. I don't deserve to be called your son ever again. But the father wasn't even listening. He was calling to his servants, quick, bring a clean set of clothes and dress him. Put the family ring on his finger and sandals on his feet. Then get a prize-winning heifer and roast it. We're going to feast. We're going to have a wonderful time. My son is here, given up for dead and now alive, given up for lost and now found. And they began to have a wonderful time. You may remember how the story ends. The older brother, the one who never demanded his share, ran off, squandered his inheritance. The older brother who behaved himself and stayed loyal to his father becomes jealous. Hearing of the fuss that his father is showing over his bratty little brother who has come home, the older brother walks away from the party angry and sulking. He can't get over the turmoil and the pain his little brother caused. Like I said, there was no innkeeper or a young couple camping out in a stable with a baby in a manger, yet this is perhaps one of the best Christmas stories ever. It's a story about a stubborn, pig-headed, and selfish kid who was given his inheritance early, squandered it on drinking and prostitutes, but comes to his senses and knows there's only one place he really wants to be, that he needs to be: home. It's a story about a father who walks to the end of the driveway every day, spends hours quietly scanning the horizon for any sign of his son, praying that one day, by some miracle, his son will come home. And it's a story about an older son who doesn't have room in his life for someone who has messed up so badly, hurting and betraying and disappointing the whole family deeply. And the last place he wants to be right now is home. But even as I tell you the story, I can't take my eyes off the father. You see, what made this place home wasn't the house. It wasn't the furniture, the design, the decor, or the fridge full of food. Home isn't a building or a house. Home is an attitude. Home is the texture of the relationships that are carefully woven together in the house. And when it comes to making a place a home, the father in this story was masterful. In the ancient culture of that day, an inheritance was only given once the father had passed away. So scholars tell us that this younger son coming to his father and demanding his inheritance was not only unheard of, it was offensive. The young son was essentially saying, "I have no use for you, old man. I wish you were dead. But since you're not dead and you're still alive, give me my inheritance now." In an unprecedented play of grace and favor, the father liquidates his assets to provide a blessing and inheritance for his belligerent son. What made this the only place the son wanted to come back to later in the story was the unflappable love of his father. This father had the depth of character and love that could look past his son's immaturity and selfishness. This father had filled every corner of his house with unconditional love, a love that remained steady even when being offended by someone who was being unloving. But what the father does next is so illogical and counterintuitive. Instead of being offended, locking the gates and instructing his security team that this cantankerous, opportunistic kid is never to step foot on the ranch again, this father, having been the object of verbal abuse and swindling by his own son, can't take his eyes off the horizon, longing to hug his son one more time. And when his son appears, I almost can't believe what the father does. I mean, I'm pretty sure if it had been me, I might have waited for him to come to me, and if he would have dared open his mouth with the words, "I'm sorry," I'd probably unleash on him something like, "I'm sorry too. I'm sorry you wasted all my money. I'm sorry you dishonored me like that. I'm sorry that you're only coming home because you're hungry and you ran out of money and had nowhere else to go. I'm sorry for the broken hearts and relationships you left behind, and I'm sorry you grew up to be such a disappointment." But that's not what this father does. This father doesn't wait for an apology. This father doesn't wait to hear confessions or remorse or repentant words with pleas of forgiveness. This father doesn't even let his son open his mouth. All this kid has to do is turn towards home and take a few steps. And this father was offering a second chance, smothering him in kisses and restoring his place as heir to the father's fortunes. Church, the allure of home isn't powered by eggnog or stockings hung by the fire and presents under the tree. Each of us has a powerful longing for home, but it's not because there's a Christmas candle burning or mistletoe hanging in the doorway. What draws our hearts to home is the possibility of illogical, unconditional, unflappable love. Harry Nouwen, the Dutch priest who was a writer, theologian, philosopher, and social justice advocate, made this declaration about home. Home is the center of my being, where I can hear the voice that says, "You are my beloved. On you my favor rests." The same voice that gave life to the first Adam and spoke to Jesus, the second Adam. The same voice that speaks to all the children of God and sets them free to live in the midst of a dark world while remaining in the light. Home is the center of my being, where I can hear the voice that says, "You are my beloved. On you my favor rests." That was the father to the young son. "You are my beloved. On you my favor rests." When I went home for Christmas in 1983, the tree was up, The baking was on the counter, the presents were under the tree, but that particular year, my parents were consumed with fighting each other and trying to make it a nice and normal Christmas. And I'm not even sure I understood what I was longing for until this last week, 38 years later. But it was that, a voice, my mom or my dad, just letting me know, you are my beloved son. On you my favor rests. You want to make your home a place that someone longs to come home to? Whether that's your spouse after a long day at work, or your kids, or some friends, or even those more distant relatives? You want to tap into what it really means to come home for Christmas? Figure out how to say, you are my beloved. On you my favor rests. Now, you're probably not going to use those exact words. In fact, you might freak some people out if you do use those words. So find some words of your own. You see, people feel most at home when their faults and immaturity can be overlooked and don't always need to be pointed out or replayed in slow motion. People feel most at home when they can make stupid mistakes and don't need to grovel in order to earn forgiveness. People feel most at home when there is someone so eager to be with them, they're waiting at the window or at the end of the driveway. People feel most at home when grace and second chances are given freely and generously. People feel most at home when the genuine love and acceptance is so thick, it makes them wonder why they ever left. And in case you might have missed it, Jesus tells the story as a way to say, people, this is what God does. He knows home is at the center of your being, and so he whispers to you, you are my beloved. On you my favor rests. The whole Christmas story isn't actually or mostly about a baby in a manger with shepherds and a wise men and a star. The whole Christmas story is about God offering each of us, wandering sons and daughters, a second chance. The whole Christmas story is about the God who is standing at the end of the driveway, scanning the horizon for a glimpse of us, turning and taking a few steps towards him, and that's all he needs to come running and clothe us in the royal robe of his love and forgiveness. That's the real Christmas story. Growing up, the Sunday school Christmas pageant was always a big deal. I remember sitting nervously in our Sunday school room wondering what important role I would be given. And I think through the years, I've played them all. One year, I was a supporting actor as one of the sheep. I must have been a pretty good actor because the next year, I was promoted to a cow. A few years later, I won the right to be a shepherd. But I had greater aspirations for my Sunday school Christmas pageant career. And then one day, finally, after working my way up the pageant actor's ladder, it was mine. I would be Joseph. The pressure was excruciating, and I had no idea how toxic the backstage environment would be with all those kids teasing me. Are you gonna kiss her? Huh? Are you gonna kiss Mary? I just want you to know for the record, I never kissed Mary, in case you were wondering. Well, in the other Christmas story that I told you earlier, there are only 3 roles. And I'm wondering today, which role in the drama of the wandering son, the gracious father, and the unforgiving brother are you playing? I don't doubt that some of us might be playing the role of the wandering son. The wandering son was restless and had powerful cravings, fiery passions. He had ambitions and drive and a huge desire for more. He was dissatisfied with life and felt imprisoned. He wanted to go live his dreams, so foolishly he demanded his share of the father's estate and was going to do life on his own terms. The wandering son didn't want to be tied down to responsibility. The open road and the world was calling his name, and he wanted to go grab onto everything he could. Is the role of the wandering son or the wandering daughter reserved for you? Are you the restless, hungry one who wants more, dissatisfied, ready to take on some risks and go have some real fun? Or maybe you identify with the wandering soul because that is the road you have walked and you're running out of resources. Maybe you discovered that the world's promises are empty, that you have lots of friends when you're the one offering to buy the next round of drinks, but when you can no longer contribute, they quickly abandon you. Or maybe today, you are that person bankrupt and commiserating with the pigs, wondering, how did I even end up here? If that is you, here's what you need to know. The world's promises are empty, and they will leave you homeless. The second the wandering son got his pocket full of money and walked down that road, he became homeless. But there's a father standing at the end of the driveway right now, ready to come running to you the minute you turn to face him. And his first inclination isn't to scold you or force you to face your poor decisions. His first inclination is to hug you, to put the treasured family robe over your shoulders, to put the ring of honor and entitlement on your finger, and throw a party, because this is a father who loves giving the gift of second chances. If you are the wanderer in the story, come home to the Father today. And as you come close, you're going to hear the Father whisper to your soul, "You are my beloved. On you my favor rests." But maybe today you aren't most like the younger brother. Maybe you are more like the older brother. Maybe you aren't best suited for the role of the one who did the offending as much as the one who was offended. Maybe you've been the one who has worked hard, lived responsible, stayed true to the Father, but someone in your life has hurt you deeply, betrayed your trust, violated your relationship. Maybe the thought of having to face that person this Christmas causes anger to rise up in you and puts you in a foul, sulking mood. You'd be okay if the Father was setting the younger brother straight, making him pay for the damage and the hurt, but to see the Father forgive so easily feels like injustice. Maybe this is the role you're best suited for in this Christmas drama. You're keeping score, you're carrying hurt, and you are demanding justice. There's no doubt that the older brother had a point. Verse 28, the older brother stomped off in an angry sulk and refused to join in. His father came out and tried to talk to him, but he would not listen. The son said, "Look, how many years have I stayed true to you, serving you, never giving you one moment of grief? But have you ever thrown a party for me and my friends? Then this son of yours who has thrown away your money on whores shows up and you go all out with a feast." I'm sure what the father said next didn't actually help the situation. The father said, "Son, you don't understand. You're with me all the time, and everything that is mine is yours. But this is a wonderful time, and we had to celebrate. This brother of yours was dead, and he's alive. He was lost, and now he's found." The father was calling for his older son to change his perspective and to allow his heart to view the situation through the lens of grace, forgiveness, and to give the younger brother a pardon. Is there a person, a situation, an offense you've been carrying with you that is causing anger or sulking in your own heart? Is there someone this Christmas whom you have a broken relationship with that is actually causing additional damage to your own soul? There's obviously no easy fix. But what I love about the role of the older brother is that he was absolutely honest about his emotions with his father. He didn't instantly fix everything, and we're not told whether he actually went back into the party or not, but at least he wasn't burying the pain and denying the emotions. Maybe you could take some steps to pardon someone. Maybe it's too big of an offense to pardon, but maybe you could take some steps to talk about it and face the damage. Or maybe with some extra effort, you could actually shovel a path towards reconciliation this Christmas. However, I wonder if you've ever read the story and realized that you are not destined or limited to the role of either younger son or older brother. The role God would love for all of us to aspire to is actually that of the Father. To play this role, you need to be able to look past other people's misplaced passions and offensive behavior, just like the Father did. To play this role, you need to be filled with love, to the point that when you are bumped, what splashes out onto the person who bumped you is pure love. To play this role, you need to forgive before the other person even asks for forgiveness. To play this role, you need to understand what home feels and looks like. It's a place of overt welcome. It's a place of explicit grace, a place where people find undeserved favor. To play this role, you need to be really good at whispering, "You are my beloved. On you my favor rests," even when that person has not earned that favor. To play this role, you need to have a longing to help people find their way home. That's God's story. And if Christmas is about anything, it's about helping people find their way home to God. So I mentioned earlier that this series comes with some practical actionables. The first one is for you, in the context of your home. Begin to practice excited expectation. If your home situation has kids, teenagers, parents, or a partner or spouse, don't let any of them come home to find you absorbed in a video game, watching TV, or on your phone or doing housework. I know this sounds like a little actionable, but it will make a huge impact. Be waiting at the window. Be tracking their location as they come closer. Let them know the minute they walk in the door, they were missed, and you've been just waiting for them to come home. Be the father at the end of the driveway, longing to welcome them home. Be prepared, and let them know that they are the most important person in your world in that moment. Not that game, not that show, not that social media feed, but them. Want to take it to the next level? Light a candle. Prepare some food. Surprise them with a gesture that will say, you are loved and highly favored. Let's learn from the Father and bring those lessons home this week. Secondly, be thinking about who needs to come home to God and be praying for them. Maybe even watch for an opportunity to invite them to one of our 6 Christmas Eve services. On December 23rd and 24th, we're going to host 6 in-person Christmas Eve services, as well as a bunch of online Christmas Eve service options, and all the details plus volunteer opportunities are going to be rolled out next weekend, so watch for those. And the third actionable is focused on Riverwood House. In a few minutes, Pastor John is going to take us on a quick tour, tell a bit of the Riverwood House story, and roll out this actionable. But before he does, I want to leave you with one more Henry Nouwen quote. Here was Nouwen's observation. Jesus' whole life and mission involved accepting powerlessness and revealing in this powerlessness the limitlessness of God's love. Here we see what compassion means. It is not bending towards the underprivileged from a privileged position. It is not a reaching out from on high to those who are less fortunate below. It is not a gesture of sympathy or pity for those who fail to make it in the upward pull. On the contrary, compassion means going directly to those people and places where suffering is most acute and building a home there. Compassion means going directly to those people and places where suffering is most acute and building a home there. Church, that's exactly what Jesus did 2,000 years ago when he was born to a young woman in a most unlikely place, a Middle Eastern animal shelter, but he instantly made our world home. But the Christmas story is so much bigger than just the manger scene. It's about a father who longs for the opportunity to whisper to every wandering person that turns their heart towards home, you are my beloved, on you my favor rests. Riverwood House is us as a church standing at the end of the driveway, longing to welcome some wanderers home. Riverwood House is us as a church going directly to the place where people are struggling and in need of a second chance and building a home right there. And this Christmas, each of us has an opportunity to turn Riverwood House into a home for our first 40 new friends.
Well, church, I could not be more excited today to invite you to be a part of making home for 40 people who are courageously walking through their recovery journey. A place to find a safe and supportive home to call their own. A place to be a part of a family, to discover their remarkable value and to belong, to discover their strengths and find opportunities to contribute, and a place to find healing. The vision for Riverwood House was birthed more than 3 years ago. I still remember the afternoon of April the 18th, 2018, when I had a knock on my door and a remarkable retired potato farmer named Don stepped into my office. He told me the story of Winnipeg Supportive Housing, a newly formed nonprofit organization that had a vision to develop a housing project to respond to both the needs of homelessness and addictions. And they wanted to let us know that they were interested in the lot next to our fire hall. He asked if we'd be interested in being supporters or being friendly to this project if it came to reality. Well, over the next few days, this conversation quickly intensified from simply being asked to be good neighbors to a remarkable sense of synergy and opportunity that led us to partner together in purchasing that lot just 1 month later. And so, with a handful of people daring to have enough faith to take the risk, and with a vision to create something that would respond to the overwhelming needs we were seeing around us, the vision for Riverwood House was born. The vision is significant. It is a 40-unit supportive recovery housing complex, a place that will provide a safe and stable environment to support individuals on their recovery journey through the impact of addictions, a place to call their home and to thrive, to find meaningful connection in a community, and to have the on-site services made available to support their continued success in their recovery journey. A place that is designed to be human-centered, not attempting to prescribe what recovery looks like, but giving the dignity of discovering within each person their potential and capability of pursuing their goals and outcomes and owning their success. It was 1 year ago that the machines rolled up onto this ground to break through the soil and start laying the foundation for what would emerge in this space. It's been a remarkable year of watching this project come alive, from a pile of rubble that was left after a rooming house burnt down to a new 4-story structure with 40 suites and common space for living and programming. All right, church, well, it's time for me to take you on a quick tour. Let's throw our hard hats on and head in. Well, walking in off the entrance of Stadacona, we're welcomed into a lobby with our reception area and our offices to one side, our shared and common spaces to the other. And we've got 3 offices and a reception area for our Riverwood House on-site staff. And down the hallway is what we call our family room, where participants will have the opportunity to access supports, to host visits with their families, and to share space with other organizations to provide on-site supports. Across the hall is our newly installed elevator, almost in working order. And the rest of the main floor is our common spaces that will be an extension of the micro suites for everyone living here to use. Whether gathering together for a shared meal or watching a Jets game, attending a workshop, or maybe just enjoying a late night snack, this will be a space where connection and community is created. Looking out through the wide open windows is our garden patio area on Talbot Avenue. Well, off the common room is our shared commercial kitchen. This is where the old brick building has been retrofitted and restored to house a common kitchen for all of our participants to access. In here, participants will help make meals together. They will learn cooking and baking skills and brew limitless pots of coffee. We've got special permission to actually install residential grade cooking equipment in this commercial space so that the equipment participants learn on will be the same as what they'll experience when they move into the community. And then facing out front to Talbot, we will be leasing out this space to one of our project partners, Elmwood Community Resource Center. Here it will house 3 counseling offices and a shared program space that will serve the Elmwood community through a front door, but also designed with a back door so our participants can access these resources without having to leave to the outside. This will provide on-site counseling supports to our participants and will include access to an Indigenous counselor and an elder to provide cultural supports for our participants on site. On the main floor, we also have our shared laundry, our common bathrooms, and a special heat treatment room for pest control. Well, the rest of the building is made up of the 40 suites, 5 on the main floor, 11 on the second, 12 on each of the 3rd and 4th floor. Each floor has a shared lounge area that will be common space for that floor to build connection and identity and to connect together in smaller communities and to provide peer supports. As well, on the 2nd floor, we've designed the top of our common space to be a rooftop patio for our participants to use and enjoy the outdoors, to sit around a fire or a barbecue together. All right, well, let me show you the suites. We have 31 standard suites and 9 fully accessible suites to accommodate the needs of those making their home here. Each suite is designed to give participants the experience of independence by including small equipped kitchens and full bathrooms. In addition, we have designed each suite with a mini balcony to give a sense of openness and access to the outside. All the millwork is in, the first coats of paints are going on, and the flooring is being installed. Lights are on. These suites are coming alive. Well, I hope this gives you a good inside glimpse of this project. It has been so remarkable to see this space take shape over the last 12 months. But now is a time to turn our focus from the construction of this facility into seeing it come alive. In the next couple of months, we will shift from being a concept or an idea, from lumber and drywall, to learning the very names of those that will make this space their home. And today, the invitation we want to make to you, church, is to help us roll out the welcome mat, to fill the cupboards and to turn down the sheets and to take what is a finished room and make it into a home. So over this Christmas season, we want to partner with you in what we are calling Home Sweet Home. You see what I did there? Clever, right? Our goal is simple. We have 40 suites to outfit with everything needed to get ready for those who will be moving in. This includes everything from forks and spoons to sheets and pillows to a TV to enjoy or a lamp to read from, a table to eat on or a bowl to eat from, a mattress to sleep on or a cup of coffee to wake up with. To outfit each suite will cost about $3,000, and so we're looking to see 40 suites sponsored this month. Maybe you're able to consider sponsoring a full suite. Make it a Christmas project with your family, or maybe as a small group rally together. Maybe you can connect with the other families and share a sponsorship together. If you want to sponsor a suite, you can sign up to do this, or if you simply want to make a contribution to help us reach our goal together. Our goal will be to raise $130,000 to fully sponsor each suite and to help outfit the facility with furniture as we get ready to experience our first homecoming. So to contribute, there's a sign-up card if you're interested in sponsoring a suite, or additionally, you can just make a contribution in any of our normal methods by indicating Home Sweet Home on the contribution. You can do this at the Welcome Center, on our website, on the Riverwood app, or just call the office. We'd be happy to help you. Church, hope is coming home. The invitation is out to partner with us in creating a remarkable and enthusiastic welcome to those who will make Riverwood House a home in the new year.
John, thanks so much for the tour and for rolling out that actionable. So I want you to know that as we wrap up our time this weekend, if you are wandering, know that the porch light is on. The Father is pacing with a tremendous excitement about the potential of you coming home to Him. If you find yourself out on the back deck churning with some anger or maybe feeling down because of a broken relationship, find someone to talk to about it. And if at all possible, make this the month that you take some strategic steps to break the hold that unforgiveness might have on you. And don't settle for either the role of wanderer or angry brother. Realize that you are called to audition for the role of father this week. Make your house a home those you live with want to come home to. Anticipate their arrival. Communicate irrational love and favor. And join us this month in creating a remarkable welcome home experience for 40 people who are currently without one.